Okay, I think I'm recording this time. All right. Hi, my name is Kathy Cross, and my project is how to start a raised bed kitchen garden. Mr. Weiss recommended that I narrow the scope of my paper because I had absolutely everything you needed to make a raised kitchen garden. And he suggested that I could write an entire paper on soil, which I thought was a little simplistic. But once I started looking into soil, I couldn't believe everything that it involved. But between weather and classes, I've selected a location for my garden, but have done little else. That's about all I've gotten done. For my presentation, I thought that I would talk about some of the things that I did to make my soil ready to plant. The first thing is I bought a fairly inexpensive pH tester from Home Depot. And I've had pretty good success with it because part of the area that I've identified for my garden I've used as a garden previously, and I've had pretty good success. So I figured that this was probably still the pH was probably still pretty good. It's super simple. You just stick it in the ground and read the pH. I put it in several different spots throughout, and it ranged from about 6.5 to just the light 7. So for what I want to plant, I think that the pH is pretty good. On the back of the package, it tells you the pH ranges for some of the flowers, shrubs, fruits, vegetables, like cucumbers 5.5 to 7.0, peppers 5.5 to 7.0, squash 6.0 to 7.5, tomatoes 5.5 to 7.0. So for that kind of stuff that I want to plant, I think my pH is it might be a little bit acidic, but not too bad. Still should have some pretty good success with that. The other thing that I did was I wanted to determine how much clay, silt, and sand are in my soil. The first thing that I did was the soil texture by measurement. So the procedure for this is to dry the soil sample out on a newspaper, take up all the sticks, and in my case I had to take out a lot of worms. Crush it up, and then you take a clear jar, and you put about a third of the soil in the jar, and then fill it till it's about 3/4 full. So, and then you shake it for about 10 minutes. Let's see. After 1 minute, you mark the depth of the sand, which I have marked here. After 2 hours, you mark the depth of the silt. And when the water clears, you mark the level of clay. And I just did this yesterday, so it hasn't cleared yet. The water hasn't cleared yet, so I don't have a perfect sample. But for the purpose of this presentation, I ran through the numbers that I had. The thickness of the sand deposit was about 3/4 of an inch, the silt about 1 inch, and the clay about 1/4 of an inch. The thickness of the total deposit is about 2 inches. So calculating the percentage of sand, silt, and clay, for example, the clay, you take the clay thickness divided by the total thickness. So that ended up being 12.5% clay. Let's see, silt, I got about 50% silt, and sand about 37.5% sand. And your perfect composition for a loamy soil composition is clay at 20, silt at 40, and sand at 40%. So I'm pretty close. I'm not perfect, but I said my sample isn't quite done yet. The other thing that you need to do is you can identify soil texture by feel. So what I did was took a clump of dirt and put some water on it, got it wet, you make it to the consistency of about like Play-Doh is what they said on the video that we had in that previous unit. Okay, so, and then you work it so that you get all the lumps out and make it as fine as you can. And then you take the sample and you put it, let's see, Can I get this so you can see it? And you use your thumb and you work the soil up through one of the joints on your finger. And what you're going to do is you're going to make a ribbon. And the ribbon length, before it breaks on its own weight, determines how much clay is in your soil. So this is pretty good actually. That just broke off. So that's a little more than an inch. So I have a pretty good clay composition. The other thing, the next thing you can do is, that was the ribbon test. Take a piece of the soil and get it wet to make a little pool in your hand. A little mess in your hand. All right, and then you work it until it's not a chunk anymore, and you can feel how rough it is. And I actually, it feels a little rough. So if I got a lot of sand, a lot of rocks, yeah, it feels a little bit rough. So it's pretty sandy, which means I have some good filtration for my water. But I do have a lot of clay, and I do know that I have a lot of clay, so the composition of my soil actually is not too bad. I am going to add some organic matter, and then I need to do some serious tilling because some of the part of the area has never been tilled before, and then I think I'll be ready to plant. So this is just one of the things, checking your soil composition is one of the things you need to do before you start your kitchen garden or any kind of garden that you want to have. I said I want to grow some vegetables, maybe some herbs. So once I get these things, because I think that the threat of frost is finally past after the long winter. So I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and talk to you later. Thanks.